Hey, it's Loren Lahav. I am so glad you are here. This podcast is about keeping it real, helping you own your worth, find your voice, and step into your truly badass and beautiful life that you deserve. Every week, I'm bringing you stories, tools, and conversations that inspire, connect, and engage. We're going to laugh, we're going to get real, and we're going to dive into what it really takes for you to live a life that you're proud of, whether it's on stage, in the boardroom, or right at home. So grab your favorite beverage, turn up the volume, and let's dive in because it's your time to own it, live it, and love it. Welcome to the Loren Lahav podcast. And is this really your first time in studio for a podcast?
It is. I've been podcasting for 5 years, and I've had people in my home, but I've never been to a studio.
Well, let's go, sister.
I'm ready.
Let's go. It's time to be seen.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about being seen and why you think people hide sometimes. I'm here with my dear friend, Christine Gale. She is, I don't even know if I could say this. I think you're kind of like what my friends said to me when I was in Australia. And they said that I was a pocket rocket. But then I came back to the United States. I'm like, I'm going to call myself the pocket rocket. And then they're like, probably not the United States because it means something differently. But we are full of energy. And you care deeply about people, no matter who they are, no matter where they are in their journey. Talk about being seen for me.
Being seen for me is one of the most transformative elements to a human life. And the reason I phrase it that way is because I was invisible for so much of my life. When I was little, I was told, like a lot of women were, whether you're told overtly or covertly, you're too much, you talk too much, you're too loud, you're too much work, you cost too much money. But on the other hand, it doesn't matter what you do, what you say, what you achieve, how much you earn, you will never be enough. And so in that tension between those two is that invisibility, because you're so confused by how you're supposed to show up to live a fulfilling life, which is what we all want as human beings, that you actually end up to be a bit of a mirage to yourself. So for me, being seen used to mean that I got louder. I would power up. I think you can probably relate. We're both pocket rockets, right? Well, I'm not sure what that means, but yeah, we're going to go with it. And so what I would do is I would become a braggart, or I would over raise my hands. We've all been in groups where people incessantly raise their hands. They're thirsty, like we like to call them, right? They're thirsty. They need the attention, but what they're really doing is filling this God-shaped hole that's inside them. Mm-hmm. And what they're also doing is unintentionally shutting down others because they're so desperate to be seen. Mm-hmm. When in reality, if they even knew that was happening, they would be crushed.
Right.
And so for me, it's so imperative not only that I find a way to be elegantly seen, but to be a vessel to help others find their way to be seen as well.
Isn't that funny that we're a lot alike, I think, in our energies, but how we both felt unseen in very different ways. Like I was so quiet and I didn't want anybody.
No, you were not.
Yeah, I was, but I made up for lost time.
You
made up for lost time, but it was a defining moment that happened to me because I had seen so many other people that were not seen and not heard, that I felt like that I needed to be their voice.
Okay, but that's interesting because so did I. There's a reason why I'm a practicing family law attorney. There's a reason why I stand in the gap for women with bruises on their arms and broken legs and black eyes. There's a reason why I speak for the voiceless.
Right.
And it's because no matter how loud I got, I still didn't have my true voice.
Right.
And so for me, I was just actually talking with one of our TLC sisters today about, we had this really cool Airbnb, and I was like, yeah, but I just want to make sure everybody feels included. I don't want anyone to feel left out. And she's looking at me like, that must be exhausting. And I said to her, maybe in some respects, yes, but this was what fuels me, is as much as it depends on me, I want to be somebody who brings the people on the periphery into the fold.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think that was mine, but in a different way. It's interesting because now that as I'm thinking about this whole thing, and you guys had, you were talking about it, that it was the sorority house right?
Which
And
I hated sororities in college, and here I am.
Woo! No,
I know
love
you were a
my
total sorority girl.
But, it's interesting because I think about like all the people that I was the voice for. They were all different backgrounds, right? So I was
Right.
the little Jewish girl, but then there was the little Asian girl who wasn't seen, or the African American friend of mine that wasn't seen, or the one who was orphaned. And I was like this conduit of like, no matter where you're at in your life, we all share something in common that we don't feel seen. So like you said, whether it's the loud one, the really loud one that doesn't feel seen, or it's the person, like I told you that when I grew up, there were parts that I couldn't go to certain parts of town because of who I was. And my mantra became, I want people to love me for who I am, not what I am.
God, that's powerful.
Right? And so for all of us to be seen, when you think of a moment where you finally felt seen for your true voice.
For me, ironically enough, it was at True Voice with you, but that was just the beginning. And what, I don't know if you've explained this, but I'll just briefly explain what True Voice is it's Loren's signature. Is it fair to call it your signature
Yes.
program? Where, and I went in for a very different outcome. I was going to learn how to become a paid public speaker. I just needed to get up and figure out how to get my butt from the chair onto the stage. That was my outcome. That was not what I signed up for. I just didn't know that. And Loren's ex-husband, is an amazing teacher. And I remember the moment he said, that story that you are too afraid to tell, that's your true voice. And I was like, heck no. There's no way I am telling that story, because that story isn't just painful, but telling that story could hurt people that I've cared deeply for. And so the reason I'm giving the background on that is by telling that story of my childhood abuse, it actually reconnected me to my 4 daughters, because I was going to, well, look at me being a little braggart here. I did win the Ruby Slippers, and I did get the opportunity to speak on Loren's amazing stage. And in order to do that, we had to tell our daughters not only what happened to me as a child, which involved a family member of ours, but also my husband's affairs. And I know that this is very sensitive, so I want to be, very, very careful here, but I also want to tell my story and my truth. And so 2 of our daughters knew about my husband's infidelity, but the other 2 did not. And they were in late high school, early college at the time. And I remember Sean and I sat down with Delaney and Sophie, and I said, Mommy's going to tell her story. But in order to do that, we need you to tell you our truth. And then we had to tell all 4 of them about my childhood abuse, which they had never known. But what's interesting is when people love you, oftentimes they know that there's something there under the surface, but they don't even have the words to say. They don't know how to ask the questions, but they know in their spirit and their soul something's wrong. So it was like in that moment when I was able to, sorry, I'm getting choked up. When I was able to be fully seen by my 4 precious daughters, that was the moment when my true voice brought me into the light. And what was beautiful about it, other than the obvious, which was for my own healing, is it healed them.
Yes.
And
it's interesting to watch your relationship after that. Because I saw a little bit of the relationship before, because I was just getting to know you. But to see how the healing unfolded from the minute that they were watching you, because I saw them on the screen. We had them near you as you were on the stage, because we had all those people virtually. But to see their faces as you were sharing the story, as things were unfolding. So share a little bit about what happens when you say, you know what, I'm going to do this because this is the right thing for all of our healing. Because it's really peeling back those layers, right?
Yes.
We talk about the onions, like we're going to peel back one layer and then we're going to peel back another layer. But share why, like you said, like the whole outcome for us is to peel back those layers. So, because there's a lot of people that are healing their story from the front of the room, and they're never able to really get the message across until they break through that. So share what's happened to you because of that, peeling back those layers and finally being honest that was causing some underlying. It's like when people talk a lot, and I'm sure you see this in your career as an attorney, when people say, well, we're going to wait until the kids are gone before we get the divorce, or we're going to wait there. And it's like they already know. They already know something's off.
Absolutely. Well, I know that there are listeners out there that can relate to having your truth hijacked. And for much of my life, I was told, don't tell, protect the family. And I became essentially a sacrificial lamb for my family because we couldn't tell about what had happened because legal ramifications, whatever. But then what it did is it caused me to live a fragmented existence. And unintentionally, and our goal was pure, right? We wanted to protect our daughters from my husband's infidelity. We are still together. Spoiler alert, we're coming up on 30 years. We're doing phenomenally because we've both put in the work. And I think telling the story has done a lot for that healing. But what we unintentionally did is we hijacked our daughter's truth. Each one of them in their own unique ways, because they knew in their soul something was wrong. But it's like when a child has been sexually harmed, they bring in dolls because they don't have the verbiage to express what has happened to something that is way beyond their years. And so for my daughters, they knew something was off. And what it did is it fragmented them.
Right.
In ways that we never intended. And certainly they couldn't tell us. But it was like in that moment when we told them the truth, and we it's like coming into the light, you could see their nervous system settle. And here's an example of the outcome of this. Our youngest daughter called me from college, hysterical. And I'm not going to share the details, but suffice it to say, and this is a child who's been very closed off. She's had a lot of very difficult childhood experiences and choices. And in that moment of intense shame and regret and confusion over choices she was trying to decide on, she called me. And she would not have done that before.
Right.
And here's the beautiful thing. Because I was living fully in my truth and I had been completely seen, I was able to say, I'm not going to tell you what you should do, but what I'm going to invite you to consider is who you're going to be if you make that choice versus this choice. Because if you want to live like somebody who has hurt our family, that's a choice.
Right.
But I'm going to invite you to choose differently. And she did.
And then what was her response after she chose differently?
It was very interesting. I had to think about that for a second. It was very interesting because she's got my personality, so she's a bit stubborn, and she's settled. Like you can see now she's home from college. You can see her nervous system is settled, and she's still not quite ready to throw stuff away that needs to be thrown away. But here's what's beautiful is because I've done the work, and because I'm rooted, and because I'm not pushing, I'm just open. And I have a whole summer, and I know that it's going to come back up because we've opened the door.
Right.
Sometimes you just have to open the door. Here's where I think a lot of people make mistakes, and I've done that many times. We open the door, and we get so doggone excited that the door's open that we just plow through when the person on the other side isn't quite ready. But when you are truly willing to be seen, I'm modeling for all four of my beautiful souls, what it means to own your truth, to step into the light, and to love fully by just being present.
Yep.
And when the time's ready, she'll open up more.
In divine time.
Divine time.
And she's still watching, right? I think that's the thing
100%.
that people need to understand, that no matter what their age, they're always watching. You know, not just as little babies, but they're watching to say, is this going to be is this for real? Is this a temporary thing because we know that you're going through this transition in your life, or is this really going to keep going, right? Is she going to keep moving on this path? So have there been any times that have challenged you when you've stepped into this new space and you caught yourself going back to old patterns? And what do you do when you catch yourself, if that's happened?
As far as going back to old patterns, I think anytime you're creating a new pattern, and when I'm doing my coaching or working with women, if you're watching it on video, I don't want to hit the microphone. I do a lot of like lifting, like you're lifting a bicep curl, and it's really about putting in the reps until that pattern becomes the default. And so I think for me, where I fall back into patterns is I sometimes, perfect example, what happened at the Mentalist. I sometimes get so excited about something that I lack sensory acuity. Like I was so excited to be with my girlfriend and we were laughing and giggling and we were having a grand old time that I lacked awareness that I was distracting this man on the stage trying to do his thing. And then when he called me out on it, I powered up. And I acted like a turkey. I was not proud of myself. And then I came to you, and this is where the growth happened.
Right.
Instead of sitting in it, which I wanted to, and my girlfriend was fanning the flames because she was mad too. It would have been very easy for me to be like, yeah, he was rude. And that's what was happening with my girlfriend. But I looked over at you, and because I've put all of these things in my head that you've taught me over the years and the reps that I've put in, I thought to myself, okay, I just screwed that up. That is not in alignment with who I am, and I have a choice. Again, fork in the road. Mm-hmm. So I leveraged. I went to the person that I knew who would tell me the truth. You'd love me. Mm-hmm. Like you could see I was in pain.
Yes.
But you didn't steamroll me. Mm-hmm. But you also weren't going to let me sit in my you-know-what. Mm-hmm. And so in that moment, I went back in there, and I rewrote the pattern, and I walked up to this amazing performer who I deeply admired, and I said, I owned it. I said, I 100% own that I was a distraction to you. It is unacceptable behavior. It is not congruent with who I am. I hope that you can forgive me, and I would like the opportunity to start again. A year ago, I wouldn't have done that.
Right.
So we still screw up, but it's what we do when we do.
So the shift is really owning it and not going to the default, or when you default, what?
When you default, don't default in a silo. Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up on a farm, and silos are literally like there's almost no oxygen in them. They're so enclosed because otherwise the crops will rot.
Right.
Well, what happens is we, especially women, I can't speak for men, but we as women, we rot when we're in a silo. We think that we're being protective and we're being independent. But I've chosen, because I've chosen TLC, that I do not want to do life in a silo. So in that moment, I got goosies. I could have chosen to sit in my self-pity party or my self-righteousness, which is a default of mine. But leverage. You go and you find somebody you know is going to tell you the truth. Somebody who has seen you.
Yes.
Not just somebody willy-nilly use wisdom.
Right.
But if it's somebody that has seen you and is willing to call you to the standards you know you want to live, that's the person that you call.
Right. And that's a really important thing, that somebody has, that you know that they've got that they really want to help. I remember somebody said, they were talking about a coach or something. And I said, you want a coach to challenge you. If you go, oh, my coach is so nice. That's not the right coach.
Not the right coach
you
for
want
you.
It, right? Like you're an athlete. You're an athlete. You have kids that are athletes, girls that are athletes, big time athletes. And you want a coach that's going to challenge them, that's going to take them to the next level. I mean, everybody has those people that they know they're not going to get someone that's like, yay, that was good. Good job all the time. Because just like you said, your kids knew something was wrong.
Yep.
And that's how we support each other, is really being that coach that cares. But also, I say, right, I'm wearing my boots this whole time. Like, I'll kick you in the butt and I'll hug you at the same time. Well, I'm super proud of you. I adore you, and very, very grateful for you to be in my world and our worlds, and just together. I think we're all, I always talk about being interdependent, not independent. Mm-hmm. And I really seen this grow of the interdependence is really, really beautiful. And like, I know that we look at all of our friends and go, your win is my win is your win. And then together we are so much stronger when we rise together. So final question.
Yes, ma'am.
And that is, what's one thing that you do to stay true to yourself every day, no matter what?
Honestly, I move my body. I move my body. And what's beautiful about that is I move my body with my man. We walk every day. If we don't walk, we feel spiritually naked. We walk in the park. We get in nature. We walk with our dogs. We breathe. We connect. We're that couple. I like to say we're the enviable couple, which, good Lord, 10 years ago, I never would have dreamed of.
Wow.
We're that couple that walks through the park holding hands at 7 a.m., just talking and moving and breathing. Move your body, and the rest will follow.
I love that. That is the rockin'. Somehow we'll just hug you. We'll just hug here. We'll just do that. Oh, shake it too. Shake it. Well, thanks so much. Christine, how do people find out more about you and your awesome podcast as well?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I am all the places, as I've had people tell me. Oh, you're everywhere. That's right. I'm everywhere because I'm here to make an impact. I don't know how many days I have left on this earth. So Girl Out of Order is the podcast. Hit me up. Follow me. TheChristineGale.com because Christine Gale got almost taken. And you can find me. You can work with me. I coach. I speak. Book me as a keynote speaker. This is the year of the speaker, baby.
There you go. All right. Well, remember this has been a pleasure. I love it. And I'm glad we got to do your first live podcast in the studio.
I know, me too.
Thanks so much for joining us. And remember to always stay true to who you are. And that's a wrap on another episode of the Loren Lahav podcast. I hope you're walking away feeling totally inspired, energized, and ready to take on whatever comes your way. If you enjoyed our conversation today, wait till you hear what's coming up next. Speaking of which, mark your calendars because something incredible is happening March the 7th through the 9th. The Own It experience is coming. And trust me, you don't want to miss out on this transformational event. We're talking breakthrough moments, powerful connections, and tools that you can truly own your journey. Can't wait until then. Here's how you can stay connected. Make sure you subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app. Just search for the Loren Lahav podcast and don't forget to tap that follow button. For all the behind the scenes goodness and daily inspiration, follow me on Instagram at I am Loren Lahav. And if you're loving what you're hearing, spread the love. Share this episode with a friend who needs to hear this message. Until then, remember your story matters, your voice matters, and you got this. See you on the next episode.